Alright, let's see what game's coming out this year.
How are they remaking Overwatch?
Ragnarok came out 3 months ago.
They're remaking the remake of Ratchet and Clank.
When will it end?
This better be good.
Welcome, I'm Ben, aka Pigeon, and today we're going to talk about how to trick women into loving you.
Nah,
What?
it's Resident Evil today.
Today we're going to talk about Resident Evil 4 and how Capcom have travelled back in time to the year 2005 to bring it to us in the modern day. As you all know, the first portion of the video is going to be spoiler free for those who are kind of on the fence about buying it or maybe just want to avoid some spoilers. And then later on into the more detailed portion, I'll give a spoiler warning for anyone who wants to skip that. Now, unlike previous remakes which more reimagine the game, RE4 Remake stays incredibly faithful to all the source material, while only ever really making changes to either enhance the game itself or to expand the world that it's set in. It gives you this really weird and wonderful sense of like new nostalgia where you're playing your favorite game again for like the first time. And none things being changed for the betterment of the experience, the game for the most part is really well balanced, while also being a lot more of a survival experience, with the Granados being way more aggressive. But to counter that, we also have the knife parry attacks, albeit a mechanic that could probably do with a few tweaks in my opinion, but also maybe skill issue. But I'll get to all that later. But the Granados really do feel like a threat. Like, the hits take off a lot of health, and if you're not tuning up your guns, then they can really tank some of the hits. And unless you buy a laser sight, you're aiming on dynamic crosshairs, which makes the fight way more chaotic when you've got axes whizzing past your head and you've got Nick Bosa charging you down with a pitchfork. The Granados aren't roadblocks anymore, they're actual threats, and if you underestimate them, then you're probably heading for quite a bad time. Another thing that needs a mention is the world building is like infinitely better. No more random wooded sheds dotted around. Every building you enter in the village seems to have its purpose. If it's cluttered with fishing nets or equipment for human sacrifice, it all just ties together that these places had a purpose and weren't just places for people to hide snakes in boxes. It's also really cool to see them expanding on existing characters, giving people like Louis Serra a lot more history and fleshing him out as a person rather than a ballistics consultant. Alright, from this moment on, there's not going to be anything major, but there will be a few spoilers, but like, the game's like 18 years old, it can legally drink in my country, so a massive shout out has to go to the sound in this game. Not just for the music, which is fire, but for the sound design. And as a fellow sound engineer, this game is absolutely my wet dream. From the sound of the bass in the gunshots and to things like the Granados or something more sinister. Raspily breathing around the corner just sets a tone and atmosphere so perfectly, while also being just an incredible audible experience. Which brings me on to the one thing I was quite nervous about, which was this game is a dramatic change in tone. This isn't an action game with horror elements and a cool American protagonist spouting off Marvel cinema lines. Instead, it's a horror game, but your combat is based on survival. So there's a lot of action, a lot of head popping and Rob Van Dam roundhousing to go around, but it puts so much into tension and atmosphere. It keeps you guessing whether you really actually know what's around the corner. Now, with the big change in tone does come with a loss of certain iconic moments that had a little bit of goofiness, so if you're in the market for a big cheese, then you're out of luck. The combat mechanics also feel very fresh. A lot of gunplay feels very raw, and it definitely puts you in the driving seat experience. Taking away the laser sight and replacing it with dynamic crosshairs really does add to the kind of franticness to all the combat. Leon's movement still has that Resident Evil clunkiness, but it flows in a certain way that is just kind of lovable. Sorry, I have to let my cat out. And now he wants back in. One of the few cons I do have about this game is, unfortunately, the voice acting, which none of it is bad, but some of it is a downgrade on the original. When you think of characters like Marvin and Jill, who have different voices in the remakes from what they had in the original, but it still felt right for the character. But unfortunately, and also, these were in the trailer, so they don't count as spoilers. YouTube comment section. Sadler and the Merchant, for me, two voices you can't replace. Sadler, who I found out through my Twitch chat, is actually voiced by the same guy as Rayloff from Skyrim, so there's that. Stopped sounding powerful and demonic, but now he sounds more like a sniveling, scheming little Reddit-pilled incel. And the Merchant sort of sounds like someone doing an okay impression of the original Merchant. And now, the thing you've all been waiting for. Does it slap? Yes. All in all, as the title says, this game really is the blueprint on how to make a truly great remake. You take the game that everyone loved, enhance that experience, and expand the world from there. Add to an already incredible game. As the old adage goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But as I say, nah, stick a laser sight on it. If I was going to rate this game honestly, and prepare for this, I'd give it a 9.6, making it the highest game ever reviewed on this channel. The only reason it didn't make a 10 was because the knife parry was such a vital part of the gameplay, and I feel like it could have really been implemented better. Maybe a touch more refinement in certain bits of dialogue and voice casting, as well as the loss of some of the classic puzzles being swapped out for some kind of dull challenges or reuse Simon Says, but overall none really drastically take away from the core experience of what is just a brilliant game. Looking outside of this game though, it does worry me whether they've set a precedent like beyond this. Like, do we get Resident Evil 5, which would be fine? Do we then go ahead to Resident Evil 6, which I don't think anybody wants? If I'm honest, I was never bothered about either of those Resident Evil properties, and I think there is other games like Code Veronica, like Resident Evil Outbreak, that if they're gonna start remaking games, why not choose the ones that need more love? But that's all for now, folks. I may do a follow-up to this video going a lot more in detail on what they got right and what they got wrong, but for this, I just wanted to overlay a few things, get a few thoughts out there, and just give a general kind of feel for this game. The way they've managed to bring me back to my childhood, while also making me feel like I'm playing a new game and still feeling excited, not really knowing what's ahead, is a surreal experience. So many times people have said, I wish I could play my favorite game for the first time again. And I can. So with that being said, what's your favorite part of the game? Or what did you want them to include which they may have left out? Let me know in the comments. Also, make sure to subscribe because there will be more videos coming. And if you don't, I will drive a car into your car. Be sure to like the video and subscribe. Also, check me out on Twitch where I stream regularly, including Resident Evil 4. And as always, you have a damn good day. Bro, my cat is scratching the door again.